everyone, and welcome to this latest NEC On the Run podcast here on the NEC Overtime Pod. I'm Craig D'Amico, and today we are joined by one of the newest faces in NEC women's basketball, after several years as an assistant and associate women's basketball coach for Mount St. Mary's. This past spring, he was promoted and hired as the 7th head women's basketball coach in program history for the reigning champions. We welcome in Antoine White to the pod, and we welcome him to the NEC Women's Basketball Head Coach Club. Antoine, thanks so much for joining us today.
Great. Thanks for having me today. I'm excited.
Now, first of all, what has it been like these last 4 or 5 months or so stepping into the head coach's position? Is it everything you thought the position was going to be? Have there been any surprises along the way? What has it been like?
No, it's been a pretty smooth transition for me so far, and I think a lot of that credit goes to our staff and our players as well. Ever since I've taken over, just their hard work and their dedication has been nonstop. So that's made my transition pretty smooth, and also our administrators. Our athletic director, Lynn Robinson, she's got a lot of faith and love and belief in me. So when you have that kind of support from your administrators, it makes the transition pretty smooth.
Now, we're going to go down memory lane with you here a little bit here, from the beginning of the journey to the present. We'll get into the future of Mount St. Mary's women's basketball as well. But let's start at the very beginning, Antoine. As a kid, when you were growing up, how was it? When was it that you fell in love with the sport of basketball?
Yeah, so I was a late bloomer. I really didn't start playing hoops until probably about 7th grade. That's when I started to pick up a basketball. I was a football athlete first. Played a lot of youth football growing up, and I just kind of picked up a basketball one day at Powell Middle School and fell in love with the game. And from there, it kind of took off. I was a natural athlete, and my skill set was below average. But once I started to work on my game, I kind of took off, and I really enjoyed playing the game of basketball.
What were some of your early memories, in middle school, in high school, when you were out there playing?
Some of my biggest memories were just our pickup games. Our pickup games at Whitman in the summer was a lot of fun. And we had some really competitive players. Michael Gruner, who played at Lafayette, he was also co-player of the year with Kevin Durant in Montgomery County in 2006. And then Dan Engelstad, our men's coach, he was somebody that I played pickup with and worked out with a lot. So our pickup games are something that, we always reminisce about and talk about. It was a lot of fun back in the day.
And let's talk about Coach Engelstad for a second, because when you went to the next level, when you went to college, you guys connected there at Southern Vermont. So what was it like, playing for him and that connection?
Yeah, it was a lot of fun, and it really helped me out, especially coaching wise. But yeah, Coach Engelstad gave me a second chance to go back and get my degree. I started out in junior college right after high school, had a pretty bad knee injury, and I just dropped out. I was out of school for about 4 or 5 years, and I decided to go back when I was 24. He got the head coaching job at SVC, and 3 years later, I was able to get my degree and play some basketball as well. I believe I was the oldest D3 player at the time. So yeah, it was a lot of fun, a lot of great experiences. Met a lot of good people up there, some really good connections. I still, close with my teammates. So those 3 years were very important to me and to my career.
One of the oldest D3 players, but now one of the youngest D1 head coaches. So it all comes around. After that time, getting that second chance, what was it that led you to maybe consider going into coaching? Is that something you always considered? I know you were doing a little bit of that during the interim in between your playing time, but was that something you always had in the back of your mind?
Yeah, like you mentioned, when I had dropped out, that was my way of staying connected with the game. I did a lot of high school and youth coaching. And that was my way of staying connected. And I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed just making those connections with players and with other coaches. And, I didn't know I could do it at this level, and other people around me in my circle, they're like, listen, you got a chance to do this at a high level. And that's why it was so important for me to go back to school. And Dan was telling me that, like, listen, man, you can't coach at the next level if you don't have your degree. So that was very important for my development. But yeah, just the game of basketball is something I love to do. And it's the only thing I know how to do.
Now you came to Mount St. Mary's, and for the majority of your time with the women's basketball program, you were serving under Maria Marcantonio. What was it that Maria did so well that maybe you picked up on and you learned from her?
Just how she prepared every single day. She was so into the details. Maria would not let you skip a step. The staff couldn't skip a step. The players for sure couldn't skip a step. She was just very detailed in her approach every single game. And that's something that I really appreciated. And at the time when she came into the Mount, I needed that in my career. I was very young in the game and I was still trying to learn it all. So she came in at the right time for me personally, and I really got to learn a lot from her.
Yeah, I was just telling you before we came on the air here that over the years, speaking with her, speaking with your players, they not a conversation went by where they didn't throw out, credit to you, Coach Antoine on the defensive end, Coach Antoine with the individual workouts. What does it, I guess, mean to you that you're what you've been doing, you're teaching, the way you go about yourself connects so well with the other coaches and with the players you've coached over the years?
Well, you mentioned it, Craig. I'm one of the youngest, if not the youngest, in the game right now, and I think that bodes well for me. I can really relate to the players. I went back to school a little bit later, so I just got out of the game a few years ago, so I can really relate to what they're going through every single day, and I think that helps me make my connections with our players.
Now, during Maria's 4 years with the program, we've seen it and you've seen, I'm sure, being in the middle of it, build kind of step by step. First year, missed the playoffs by one game. Second year, some tough semifinal loss on the road. Third year, you were going to host a semifinal game. And then, last year culminating with the championship. So as someone who's been on the inside, that's been heavily involved in building that, seeing that ladder of ascension, recruiting the right kids, doing all the teaching, what was that process and that progression like for you during those 4 years?
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun. It was a lot of long days, a lot of long days. That when Maria took over, her and I had a conversation, and the rest of the staff, just about building a foundation of our culture. That's where it starts for us, and we were able to do that. It was the little things. We had always talked about that, and we were able to just day by day, and that was kind of our saying at the time. 3, 4 years ago, let's just take this thing day by day and work hard. And that's exactly what we did. And, we came up with this overall scheme and concept of things of how we wanted our style of play to look like. But a lot of the credit and majority of the credit goes to our players. At the end of the day, they're the ones going out and they're putting in that hard work and they're grinding it out on the track at 6 a.m. 2, 3 times a week. And then they come back and they have the lifting and, extra shots with me and Kelsey. And at the time, Coach Geiger and Julie, it's a total team effort. And it's pretty cool to see how it all came around. And now it's my job to sustain all of this.
So, coach, it's an interesting spot because at the same time, if it's not broke, don't fix it. But then on the other hand, I'm sure growing up, as a youngster and then as an assistant coach, you always were thinking in the back of your head, if I'm ever a head coach, I want to make sure we do this. So, what might be one example of something that you're definitely going to make sure you keep, and what might be something that this year you've implemented of your own?
Okay, yeah. So one big thing I took from Coach Maria is, I'm a defensive guy at heart, and she's a more offensive-minded coach, although I might have changed that a tad bit in her. But one thing I really learned from her is, and especially at this level, you're not going to win a lot of games if you can't hit open shots, and that's something that can just get overlooked. But, that's something that we're just going to continue to do. We're going to work on our skill development, and we still want to shoot the three ball. So that's something that we're still going to continue to do. With me being in this new role, it would be foolish of me to continue to do exactly everything that Maria did because it wouldn't be organic, right? Like
Sure.
that's she had her style and I have mine. So I'm looking forward to it though.
You have all those little things like, the travel schedule and what food to eat on those are all, I'm sure, little things that now fall on your plate that maybe you didn't have to think about before.
Yep, for sure. And our players like to eat on the road. And, our Catrice did a really good job this previous year of, keeping us organized. And yeah, all those little things now fall onto my plate. And, I do a good job of, I'll try to do a good job of, allowing our players to pick out what they want to eat. And, I don't want to control all of those things. I'll leave that.
He's a player's coach. That's it.
You got to keep them happy.
That's right. Now, last year's journey, of course, culminated in the best way possible, capturing the program's fourth tournament title, first since 1995. They did it with a 77-62 win over FDU in the semifinals, and then a 70-38 win over Wagner in the championship game, which, as a defensive guy, I'm sure made you very happy. What were your runs? What was your memories, I guess, of that whole week, that run up through the semifinal, the final, and then obviously the celebration that came afterwards?
Well, the first thing that comes to my mind is just no sleep.
I can imagine.
We got no sleep leading up to those games, but the biggest thing is that's what we worked for. We worked to be in those big games and to play on that kind of platform. And I think the biggest thing for us and that we were preaching to our players was don't change who you are, right? Like, we got here for a reason. Don't try to do anything that you're not capable of. Just continue to play your role and let the cards fall where they may. And again, credit to our players. They won out. And, I think in the championship game, there was definitely some nerves there on both sides. And after that first quarter, our players really took off and they locked into the game plan and they executed to a T.
Now, your reward for that, cutting down the nets, the trophy, all that, but you got really the hopefully once in a lifetime experience of participating in an NCAA tournament in a bubble in San Antonio. So what was that experience like, getting a chance to be a part of this never before, once in a lifetime type thing?
Yeah, it was a cool experience, just one, being able to go to the NCAA tournament was a lot of fun. And, the police escorts and things of that nature was pretty cool. And, you got to feel pretty big time and taking, the charter planes and whatnot. Like that stuff was a pretty cool experience from everyone. And I just really enjoyed watching our players. I sat back and watched them make their TikToks and tweeting out about the experience. So I got a lot of joy out of how much, they really, got to experience that.
Now, while you were there, there was this national story that developed with the disparity between the weight rooms, and that opened up all this conversation about the inequities between women's athletics and men's athletics. So I'm wondering, while you were there, did when you were in the bubble, did you guys get a sense of all that backlash, and what are, I guess, your thoughts of what some of those inequities might be?
Yeah, obviously it started to blow up on Twitter, and that's kind of how we found out. And it was an unfortunate situation of how it started out for women's basketball, and a few days later they corrected the wrong. But you can only control the controllables, and I just hope that people learn from that experience, and in the future that things are a little bit different going forward.
Now, also, it was the prior summer of 2020. You put out a video for the NEC Champions of Change, and you were talking about the challenges that you had growing up. And something that stood out to me, you pointed to two things in particular: the importance of Black history in schools, which, as an elementary teacher myself, I'm 100% on board with you with that. And then also the importance of exercising the right to vote. So, as an assistant coach who doesn't really get a chance to speak out, on a big platform like that, what did it mean to you to kind of speak from your heart and open up and share your thoughts and experiences? And what was some of the feedback that you got to that?
Yeah, that's first time I've ever done anything like that. And I'm just glad and happy that the NEC gave me that opportunity to share a little bit about my upbringing and, what I had to learn and things like that. And, it's now me sitting in this chair. It's, I have to continue to use my platform and my voice to reach out to those around me. I think, and Maria did a really good job of this with our players. She wasn't always on Twitter, talking about herself or talking about what we're doing behind closed doors. But we did a lot of work with our players behind closed doors, and I think that's what matters. It's not about hey, we're doing A, B, and C, and you have to promote that. Our players know that we're passionate about certain issues, and we'll continue to work at it and educate ourselves and educate our players. And it's something that this entire group from top to bottom, they're passionate about. So it's something that we're going to continue to work at.
Yeah, again, it was. I thought it was a great video that you put out. And for anyone that hasn't seen it, you can go to northeastconference.org and check it out. Now, switching gears, a few weeks after your trip to the bubble that we were talking about last March, that's when Maria decided to head home to Indiana to become the coach at Purdue Fort Wayne, and really wasted no time, almost simultaneously announcing you as the head coach. So take us into those few weeks there. What were the phone calls? Did you get like a heads up, like, hey, you might want to put in your name for this? Did someone come to you? Because it seems like everything came together in a really quick period of time.
Yeah, it happened pretty fast. It happened really fast. But for me, and this is just how I kind of live my life, I take it day by day, So I wasn't looking ahead. I didn't know what was going to happen. There were a couple conversations that were had back behind the scenes, and Maria and I had a conversation, and I love working for her. So I knew that was an opportunity for me if things didn't work out at the Mount. But she knew, and I think everyone in house knew that I wanted a shot at this. This is what I've been working extremely hard at for the last couple of years, and the Mount knows that I'm ready, and that's why we're sitting here right now.
Now, a quick story. This is going to lead to a question. When I was a kid, I loved playing Super Mario on Nintendo. That was my game. I'd sit there for hours trying to beat the game. I'd, go to the magazine rack, look up the secret cheat codes and all that. And then finally, one day, I finally beat it. And then the next day, my mom sees me on the couch. She's like, how come you're not playing your game? I'm like, I already beat it. And he's like, well, you could still play it. I'm like, yeah, I could. I already did it. So that kind of leads to you guys accomplished your goal last year. You won the championship. You got that experience. How difficult is it now to go and motivate everybody? Hey, remember all that from last year? We got to go do that again from the ground up. As a head coach now, how difficult is, getting back to that motivation that you had before you achieved your goal?
Yeah, I think the circumstances are a little bit different. This season. Hopefully, we're over with COVID, and we can get back to a normal schedule. I think that alone has a lot of players excited, and I know it has our players excited. But the biggest thing for us is just staying humble, and I think coming off of a championship run, you can fall into this trap of I have this championship team and I can just add more. I can get
Sure.
a little more complex with my schemes and my concepts. And I'm approaching it very differently. And the message to our players is let's get really good at the little things. Let's keep it basic, let's keep it elementary. And then later on, once we can, we feel good that we, have a good foundation of those little things. And when it comes to the game of basketball, then maybe we can start to add on to our schemes and concepts. But right now, it's all about just coming in, working hard, and let's just focus on the little things of basketball.
And I'm sure it's tough because while, you want to turn the page and keep focusing on those things and moving forward, you get these little reminders, like they put up a banner on the wall that says 2021 champions. You're going to get a ring if you haven't gotten it already. That I'm sure that first game back with the fans is going to be like a celebration for a championship in itself, because you didn't get that in last year's championship. So, there will be these little reminders that pop up. How do you handle that?
Yeah, I think we embrace the moment. We enjoy it because they work so hard for it. Like our players, they deserve those moments. So, we'll tell them, hey, listen, this is what you work so hard for. So enjoy it, but it's time to move on. Our very first team meeting, that's what we talk about. Like, hey, listen, if you have the championship photos hanging up in your locker, or it's on your back, your back screen on your phone. Please just take it off. It's time to move on, and there's new challenges ahead of us. And guess what? Everyone in the NEC, they're not just going to hand us another title. Like, it doesn't work that way. And so we have to go out every single day and earn it. And I have all the confidence in the world that this team is going to go out and do that.
Have you gotten a chance to see the rings? Like, have you gotten a design? Have you been involved with that? What has that been like?
So we got the rings a couple weeks ago. Very, very nice. And, the players were pumped up about it, and there wasn't this big celebration about it. We had workouts playing, and, we came in, we gave them the rings, and, they were jumping around and, again, doing the Snapchat thing and all of that good stuff and Instagram. And, and credit to them, they enjoyed the moment, and they got ready to work. So
I put it away and get ready to do it again.
There you go. There you go. Like you said, we're going to have our first home game, and they'll drop the banner. And after that, hopefully it's time to focus on, this upcoming season.
Now, in your first offseason as a head coach, how has that been different, I guess, in two ways? One, being in a different role now as a head coach, but then also, going to all these events and camps at, in a, I don't know, post-pandemic, mid-pandemic, whatever you want to say, environment. So with those two factors, how has this offseason kind of been different for you?
I think the biggest difference has been recruiting. Recruiting
Right.
is, starting to, it was very nice to get out there and just have that energy back in the gym. That was a lot of fun, and to see, the AAU coaches and AAU teams on the Under Armour circuits get back out there. So I really enjoyed that. And yeah, it's a little bit different. I have to do podcasts now like this with you, and I'm enjoying it all. I'm taking it all in, and it's a day by day process with me.
Now, one of your first important decisions as head coach is putting together your staff. As a longtime assistant, you know how important assistant coaches are. So what was your strategy in, keeping some coaches in, finding new people that fit your style and what you're looking for? What was that process like?
Yeah, it was kind of an easy process, to be honest. For me, it was a no-brainer to keep Julie and Kelsey. I've worked extremely well with them over the last few years. So to keep them on staff was something that I really, really wanted to do. They have a relationship with all the players and our administrators, and they know how I am, and how I want to work. So to keep them two on board was critical for us, and to add Dave onto staff has been a breath of fresh air for all of us. Dave is he's a very smart individual, very outgoing personality. He keeps it fresh for us. And, one thing that I like about Coach Dave, Sacred Heart has always done a really good job about getting players from the DMV up there. So I said, listen, and I know he was a big part of that. So I said, if Dave can help get kids up to Sacred Heart, he can definitely get kids to the Mount. Bright guy. I'm excited about him. And our new GA, Maggie, she's a local kid, and she played some hoops, and we're very excited about her. She's got a great basketball mind, and she's a hard worker, and she's eager to learn. So I'm really excited about our staff. I feel bad for them because they got to put up with my critiques and all my rants, but I'm excited about our staff.
Now, really a hard-hitting question here. Last year the dress code was relaxed for head coaches. Coaches, went from these fancy suits to polos and zip-ups. So I'm wondering, as a male head coach, what are your plans? Are you going to go the sharp suit, the nice tie, the nice shoes, or are you planning on going polos again next year?
You'll learn this about me. I'm a pretty relaxed individual. And my suit game is pretty weak to begin with. So, it's going to be fairly casual for us. We'll have the slacks and the polos and the quarter zips, but I really enjoyed coaching in some comfortable gear.
Now, if I could just make a suggestion, I think back to like when Rick Pitino was coaching at Louisville, and that one game a year, he brought out that all white suit with the red tie. You knew, oh, this is a big game, right? So like pick one game next year, maybe a bow tie for Coach Phelan, make it real nice like that, honor the school. I think one game next year, I think you can make the suit work.
We can make that happen, Craig. We can make that happen. Maybe for homecoming, that could be our one game that we really dress up.
There you go. Now, I guess finally here, what can fans expect from the 2021-2022 Mount St. Mary's women's basketball team? You have a lot of returning faces, player of the year back. Kayla's never going to leave. You have a lot of returning faces, but then also a lot of fresh faces there, from the area, recruiting very local with some of these new players, especially new players in the post. So what can Mount fans expect when they see this team on the court starting in November?
Yeah, I think with this group, we have a little bit of everything. We have playmakers, we have shooters, we have post play with our incoming freshman class. They're long and they're athletic. So that was a box that we wanted to check off, and they do that for us. But not too much is going to change for us. We're still going to play fast. We're going to get up and down. On the defensive end, we're going to pick you up full court, and we're going to zigzag, and we're going to turn you over. It's going to be a high-paced game, and we're going to play the right way. We're going to play hard, and we're going to play for each other. And I'm really excited for this group. The work that they put in this summer, we're headed in the right direction, and I feel pretty confident that we're going to come back in preseason and picked up where we left off in the summer and keep this thing rolling.
Now, nothing's been officially announced yet that I've seen, but I don't know. Can you give us any hints as to what might be the first time is there a home opener, season opener? Do you know dates on that yet, or is that still stay tuned?
Still stay tuned for that.
Okay.
Still stay tuned for that. But, what we have down on paper so far, I really like our non-conference schedule. I think it's going to challenge us. We have some potential really big opponents on there. So I'm excited for our non-conference schedule, and I'm excited for conference play. I've seen what other teams are doing in our conference, and who they're picking up, transfers and things of that nature. So it's going to be a fun, competitive season, and I know my group is up for the challenge.
Now, you know this already, so I don't have to tell you. There's never an off night in the Northeast Conference. Every night, every team comes to play, especially when you're the reigning champion, you have the bullseye on your back. So it should be an exciting season.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I can't wait for it.
Well, starting this November, this fall, Mount St. Mary's will be back on the court, and they'll be coming to a Northeast Conference gym near you. We look forward to seeing them. Coach, thanks so much for taking the time to join us here today.
Greg, I appreciate you having me on.
That's Antoine White, the head coach of the Mount St. Mary's women's basketball team. I'm Craig D'Amico, and this has been the NEC On the Run podcast here on the NEC Overtime Pod.